So there's lots going on in the store currently, and the latest to it is the AMX 1357 and the Lorraine 40T. Two French tanks, one at Tier 7 and one at Tier 8. One is a light and one is a medium, and both have auto loaders. But what are they like, and is it worth it? Hello again everybody, and welcome back to Fujit's Blitz, and today we're going to talk about the Lorraine 40T and the AMX 1357, two tanks that are in the store at the moment. Now, they come in three packages. You can either get the tanks separately or as a bundle. Now, the bundle will cost you $17,500, and the joy of that is it comes with all 9 equipment slots unlocked for both tanks, 2 garage slots and an avatar. Or you can get them individually, and we'll look at that separately. So first off, we've got the AMX 1357, the French Tier 7 light tank. Now, if you buy this tank on its own, it will set you back $8,500, but that only comes with a slot and no equipment. But you do get an avatar. Now, the thing is, if you buy the tank alone, okay, it's going to set you back $8,500 gold, but then on top of that you've got to churn out 1.4 million credits, which equates to about 3,500, bringing a grand total of 12,000 gold for the tank in real terms. What about the tank? Well, this is the tank, and as you can see, it ain't got the best armor. In fact, it's got pretty poor armor. Not only that, it's a light tank, but it doesn't have light tank camouflage. In fact, the camouflage profile on this thing is slightly broken. In fact, it's so broken that anybody can see you anywhere on the battlefield near it. Damn it! It does not have a very, very good camo profile. So, what is it about this tank? Well, it's got a 6-round magazine autoloader. It will dish out average DPM of 2,164. Penetration, not that great. Damage, well, you're going to be churning out an I alpha of 90 each shell, but the burst damage is a whopping 540, which is pretty big. Rate of fire, well, you're going to have about, magazine reloading time of about 10 seconds. There's 6 shells in the magazine, remember, and the reload time between shells is a second, so that gives you a rate of fire of about 24 shells a minute. Aim time is not too bad, just over 1.5 seconds, and the gun depression is a whopping 7 degrees. Woo! But the elevation is 13 degrees, isn't too bad. Speed-wise, you're going to get about 60 kilometers an hour out of it going forwards and about 23 going backwards, so all in all, it's not a bad tank in real terms. Apart from the camo profile. I mean, that is the downside to this tank. I mean, its camo profile sucks. It really does suck. However, it's a unique tank. I mean, there aren't many of these in the game. I, for one, didn't expect Wargaming to bring it around so quickly. And, it's a shame they just haven't buffed the camo profile on it realistically. Aside from that, it's unique. It's got 6 rounds in the magazine. It does a fair amount of damage, and once you get used to it, it's actually not a bad tank. Okay, it's not the AMX 1375. Let's not kid ourselves here. I mean, that's a fantastic tank. This is not that tank. This is a completely different tank, guys. You've got to get every shell to penetrate to get that burst damage. And as you can see, it's not that easy, because the penetration values on each shell aren't that great, but you can do pretty nicely in the tank. To be fair, I actually like this tank. So, what about its gameplay? Well, this is me going out in game earlier today, and the armor is pants. Like I said, you've got to be really careful with this thing. The changing of the magazines isn't that traumatic. I mean, it's quite fast in real terms. I mean, when you're getting a 6-shell magazine reloaded in less than 10 seconds at Tier 7, that isn't bad at all, especially when you're knocking out 540, if you're lucky, in the burst damage. Mobility-wise, well, it's pretty funky. You can get this thing into some really good places. It's quite small, it's quite sleek. Okay, the turret sticks out a bit and so does the gun, but it's pretty fast. You know, you can get some really cool games out of this thing. And as you can see here, I mean, okay, we struggled to pen there initially because that wall is going to take all the energy out of that shell, but once you clear the wall, you're going to have no problems penning the side of that tiger. Front on the other hand, well, it's a bit tricky. The thing is, this thing only comes with two types of shell, an AP round, which is your standard, and an APCR, which is your Pramo. There is no HE, unfortunately, so you can't even go to that default position of using high explosive. Simple as that. Realistically, you can only use your AP and APCR. The APCR isn't too bad. It gives you, you know, a slightly better penetration, but obviously you lose out on the damage. Thing is, like I say, I mean, if you know how to play an autoloader and you're familiar with the types of the AMX 12T or the AMX 1375, then this tank shouldn't give you much trouble. You just need to remember that camo profile, because it's not a true light, and that's the problem. It's more like medium camo. But if you understand that downside and that vulnerability, then the tank can be played to its strengths rather than its weaknesses. And that's the thing here. I mean, I know that there's no point me running away and hiding because they're going to spot me. So I may as well just try and stay in as much cover as possible and try and take out the tanks. And as you can see, on occasion, you will get a bounce. It's that straightforward, guys. So I've already taken what I've only dished out 720 damage. It's not a massive damage machine, and I've taken a kill, and now I'm about to take kill number 2. So I've just done over 1,100 damage. I've taken 2 kills. I've spotted a load of tanks, and now I'm going to sit here and cap the base. Why? Well, because I know they are there, I know there are only 3 of them, I know we've got a full team, and I also know that with my size, I can squeeze between this tank and that tiger, thus protecting myself, yet being able to get shots over there. As you can see, it does struggle to pen, so switch to APCR and you'll start penning, but it does struggle to pen certain tanks. Not a problem, because you can just switch, as I say. I like this tank. It took a bit of getting used to because of the camo rating, but it's a fun tank. Okay, you're not going to be able to pen everything, you're not dishing out high amounts of damage, and it's a tricky tank to drive. But once you're used to it, I think it's a bit of good fun. Now, the price, 8,500 gold for the tank with no equipment slots. A garage, but you get a garage slot and an avatar. Not that bad, realistically. In real terms, I mean, it's a decent amount of money for a unique tank that isn't as bad as people think. Downside, you're going to have to spend another, what, 3,500 on opening all the equipment in real terms. That's a kicker. I mean, if they would have sold it for 8,500 with the 9 equipment slots opened, then, you know, maybe I would say, yeah, it's a good bargain. It's the bargain of the century. But they've not done that. They've sold the tank individually. And that's a bit of a letdown, because the equipment slots do cost a lot of credits. Other than that, I don't see no reason why you shouldn't get this tank, unless of course you've got the AMX 1375, which is a similar tank, but a lot easier to drive, and it's a tech tree tank. So why would you need this one? Well, it's unique, because having 6 shells in the magazine is a bit more fun, in my opinion. So, moving on. Now we've got the Lorraine 40T. Well, this is a Tier 8 medium. It's again a French tank, again an autoloader, but it's a medium. This one is in the store on its own again, and it will cost you 12,500. And for that, you get the tank, a garage slot, and an avatar. Woo! You don't get any equipment, however. That will set you back approximately 1.9 million credits, or in real terms, 5,000 gold. So you're not getting a tank for 12,500, you're actually getting a tank for 17,500 if you want those equipment slots opened. What about this tank? Well, there you go. There's the armor profile. You can probably just get away without side scraping it, but it's pretty paper thin. I mean, that's up against a louver, which it will find in Tier 8, and you can see it's pretty pennable all over the place. This is a tricky tank. But why is it tricky? Well, the HP on it's not too bad. It's 1500. DPM, it's above average, 1967. Penetration is really good, 212. Damage, bit on the low side because it's only 225. However, it carries a 4-round magazine, so you're going to have burst damage of about 900. The rate of fire, well, the magazine, as I said, carries 4 shells, but it takes just shy of 20 seconds to reload the magazine with a 2.5 second shell reload time. That gives you a rate of fire of about 8.7 shells a minute. Aim time is just over 2 seconds. Gun depression is a very mediocre 8 degrees, and the elevation is 9 degrees. Mobility wise, you're going to be able to get about 60 going forward and about 23 going backwards. Why is this tank tricky? Well, it's tricky because it's got an excessively long load time between magazines, and it's got paper thin armor. However, the upside, you're going to be able to churn out realistic terms almost 900 damage per magazine. I mean, that's the burst damage. That is a hell of a lot for a Tier 8 tank. I mean, that's borderline. That's venturing into, you know, ISU 152 territory, and this is a medium tank, not a TD, and it's not a heavy. That is massive, to be fair. I mean, this thing will pen almost anything at its tier, and you're going to be dishing out a lot of damage, guys. You can live with that long reload between magazines, but that's what makes it tricky, because you need to play this like all the other auto loaders. You've got to be close to cover when that magazine is about to expend itself, because if you're not, you're in a world of pain. You're really vulnerable. Everything realistically can pen you. It's not a tank that you can sit in the open or you can put on the front line. It really is a second line support. But look at this. I mean, we take no time whatsoever in getting past 1,000 damage and taking out a tank. Okay, we had a bit of help there with the ding, but that's not the point. I mean, 1,100 damage, and you know, that's our first engagement in real terms. This is the advantage of the tank. Those 4 shells really do give it an edge, almost borderline OP. If it wasn't for the long reload time on the magazine and the paper thin armor, it really would be probably OP. And as you can see, we're now just shy of 1,500 damage, and we've only really expended 2 magazines. It's a nice tank. I enjoy this tank. Again, I've only played a few battles in it. I didn't get it the first time round, but it really is a fun tank to roll out in. However, 17,500 if you want the equipment unlocked. That's quite a lot of gold, but it is a Tier 8, in fairness. But what about if you get the double package? Because don't forget, these come as a double package, and the double package will cost you 17,500. And for that, you get the tanks, you get the garage slots, you get an avatar, woohoo, and you also get all equipment unlocked on both tanks. Wargaming are right, that is a 40% saving, and that really is worth looking at, guys. Anyway, that is both the AMX 1357 and the Lorraine 40T. If you've got the gold at 17,500, it's worth a look in my opinion. They're not bad tanks. Neither of them are bad tanks. They're worth it. They're both unique. They both bring something different to the game. And if you enjoy tank collecting or having that unique tank in your garage, then these are worth the look. However, only do it, guys, if you have got the budget to purchase both tanks. Because buying the tanks individually and then opening up those slots is just a little bit too much, in my opinion. So my advice would be buy them as the package, not as individual tanks. So that's that, guys. I hope it's been useful. By all means, send me your replays at usual address, fujitsblitz@gmail.com. If you haven't yet, please press subscribe. And don't forget, comment and like. And until the next time, stay safe out there, have fun on the battlefield, and happy tanking. Because that's what it's all about, having fun and being happy.